Well, a very good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kenya's most comprehensive political and public governance analysis show. Definitely, I'm talking about the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. Such a pleasure to always have you on board. Remember, we are so much grateful for your viewership and for the support that you've shown us so far. Ladies and gentlemen, this fine morning, I'm joined by Wakili Willie Sotino, and I want us to have this conversation here. Wakili, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes. Welcome to the show. I want us to stick to the corridors of justice hearing. The High Court has actually declined the application to allow the application of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to actually stop certain cases here. Of course, there's been some sort of a disconnect and discord between the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and the EACC, that is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We've got situations whereby the ODPP decides to come up with certain withdrawals of high-profile cases, some of which actually do not go well with the number of people in this country. Now, I want us to begin from here. We had a problem with the former, of course, head of public prosecution there in that particular office that was headed by Nurdin Haji. That is the time when we witnessed withdrawal of a number of high-profile cases, and of course, I know you are aware of them. But here we are right now. After Nurdin Haji left that particular office, a number of Kenyans were optimistic that perhaps there could be some changes that could be witnessed here. But seemingly that is not the case here, and some of them are now saying here that these are actually the same monkeys in the same forest. That is what they are actually alluding to, that the trend has not changed. We are still here as a country. What do you think is actually happening with the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions?
You know, the answer is very simple. Look at the political affiliations of those whom their cases have been withdrawn. Therein lies the answer. You'll notice that the people whose cases are being withdrawn, you can draw a pattern as to where their political leanings are. So, as they say, just looking at that pattern will lead you to what informs the withdrawal. Because we are not seeing at an across-the-board withdrawal of cases of people who are non-political and aligned in one political camp and across-the-board political camps. It's only people who are affiliated politically with one particular political camp. So it tells you that, in my view, there's a serious credibility question in the office of the DPP. Because how then do you justify this kind of conduct and character? I also saw the Ethics and Corruption Commission was raising an issue as to how some of these withdrawal of cases was being done. So we are at the risk of turning our judicial process into a DPP laundering scheme, where somebody who has engaged in acts or suspected of engaging in acts of corruption is laundered through the court system by the DPP, and then now they are clean, and whatever money they have, they are as white as snow. And I think one of the judges was alluding to that when he said that they will not sanction the criminal justice system being used as a laundering mechanism for ill-gotten wealth and loss of public money. That you bring people to these courtrooms, not with an intention to prosecute, but with an intention to give them almost forever immunity. Because once you charge them and withdraw the cases at some stage, depending on the stage of the trial, if they have been put on their defense and withdraw the charges, it means they'll never be charged again. So in other words, the whole process was just to legitimize whatever process of crime they may have gotten. And one of the judges said, no, this is not what we are going to allow to take place. We are not going to be part to this mechanism, this scheme. So it's onerous upon the DPP to relook at the way that office is conducting itself and reconsider, in my view, the prosecutorial policy that informs the withdrawal of charges. And in fact, ideally, the withdrawal of charges should have a policy that any Kenyan looking at the policy is looking at a particular case, set of facts and circumstances, can actually say these are genuine case that warrants withdrawal of charges. But when it is being done arbitrarily, when there are no clear guidelines on withdrawal of charges, then a perception can be created that indeed the withdrawal of those charges is formed by more other extraneous reasons as opposed to legal considerations. And that office now owes the people of Kenya an explanation at what informs, what policy considerations informs the decision to withdraw some of these charges. Because we have so many other suspects going through our justice system in Kenya. Their withdrawal of their charges is not being considered. Is this being done on application? How is the review being done? Is there a board of review? What informs the decision not to continue with the prosecutions? Why is it that only some people who are politically affiliated to a particular side are getting priority consideration? So these are things that...
How do you tell somebody's political affiliation?
Of course, you can take from their public statements. Yeah, I mean, public statements, you can take an affiliation.
Let's take, for instance, the latest case, of course, the one that the High Court declined to allow its withdrawal is the one for Charles Tanui, actually the former managing director, Kenya Pipeline. They are in with such kind of a graft case still facing him.
So you want me to tell you his political affiliation?
How?
Because you don't know who proposed him to be appointed KPC director in the first place. Okay. You still want to guess? You don't know who came to his defense when he was first being charged. I mean, Kinyi, let's be serious.
Okay.
Charles Tanui's political affiliation is public knowledge. I don't need to go and do a Google research even to find out. There have been people who have been very loud in his defense from the beginning when he was charged in the first place. So, I mean, his political affiliation can be told. And all of these people, there's a record, public records of their political affiliation associations. So it's right there for everybody to see.
Okay.
So that's why I say, when it comes to withdrawal of this kind of charges, there must be a clear position. Because when the persons were being arraigned in court, it was done with a lot of fanfare. A comprehensive statement that ESCC has done the investigations. DPP has confirmed that indeed I'm satisfied. There is criminality involved and the suspects need to be arraigned. Then now you decide to just whimsically withdraw the charges. So what happens to the laws? Because as I said before, facts are universal. It is not in doubt. It is not being questioned that money was lost. The only thing we're asking is, who is this culpable?
Okay.
But the loss of public money is factual. That is not in doubt. So the DPP still owes the Kenyan people an explanation then. Okay, fine, if not Charles Tanui, then who?
Okay.
So you're withdrawing the charge against this one to arraign who? Because the question of loss of funds is not in doubt. We are not even debating that one. We lost money, period. All we're asking the state criminal agencies to tell us is who is responsible. You first told us it was this one. You're now telling us it's not the one. Then who?
Okay.
So you cannot just withdraw charges without telling us then where does it lead to.
Okay.
To who does the arrow point? The arrow points to the eater of the arms.
The office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is an independent office, so to say.
Yes.
I don't know how independent that word would actually be, but then here we are. The former Director of Public Prosecutions, Niu Haji, actually alluded to the fact that the reason, one of the reasons why he dropped some of those cases, high-profile cases that we witnessed last time, was because they actually lacked the minimum threshold that is supposed to be there for them to be fully prosecuted. And he alluded to the fact that he was coerced and pressured back then. And then when the new Director of Public Prosecutions came on board, we thought things could be different. Now, make me understand this. Do you think that the trend is still continuing, or is it that with the change of the Director of Public Prosecutions, we could also actually see or rather witness a change in the kind of prosecutions that we witness in the country?
You know, it's quite unfortunate that I'm now discussing fellow professionals in how they are conducting their offices. But the people of Kenya deserves accountability to those who are holding these offices. And it will be sad for the Director of Public Prosecution to say, I'm being pressured. Because when you take an oath of office, you're supposed to impart and to perform the functions of that office without any fear or favor. So it is fear from who? Intimidation, threats, coercion, favor. Favor from your associates, people who you think you are beholden to by virtue of your appointment, people who are maybe your relatives or associates. That's why you take that oath of office. So unless the oath of office that people take to assume public office in Kenya has lost meaning, we should not be having an independent, because these are independent offices. It's an independent office. It is meant to be only beholden to the Constitution, the spirit and the aspirations of the Constitution.
Okay.
But the way it has conducted itself in the recent past, it comes to question. And even if the holder says that I've been coerced, I've been threatened, I've been intimidated, then whatever you did was against your oath of office.
Okay.
So you betrayed the Constitution. But I leave it to your conscience to guide you in the appropriate decision to make. Because once you've made a decision that you're going to act contrary to the Constitution, and you are supposed to be an independent office holder, now what do we expect of you? What can we do? We just leave it to your conscience and your God to judge you. Because that is what they are admitting, in my view. That now they are no longer acting in furtherance of the Constitution, which they swore to protect and to defend. They are now succumbing to pressure, maybe intimidation. Then that is why they're acting the manner they've acted. But then you leave it to their conscience to guide them. It's not for me to judge. Yes.
Aurora and Kimwarer case collapsed, definitely.
Same thing.
And of course, the accused thereof were released. We have got this case here of Kenya Pipeline, and we are seeing that kind of clash between the EACC and ODPP. How does the mutual, or rather working relationship between these two bodies actually help in defense of and attainment of justice?
See, that's the question. Are we now living in accordance with our Constitution, or now it's arbitrary acts? When you say Aurora and Kimwarer has happened, that is almost 20 billion shillings down the drain, lost, not in question. Pipeline more than 8 billion, lost, not in question. That is an accepted fact to everybody. Lost money is lost, not in doubt. What we are arguing over is the culprit, who is culpable, who should be paying for the money that is lost. That's what we are arguing over. As we are doing that argument between EACC and DPP, whoever has stolen the money is enjoying public coffers. The public continues to suffer. No healthcare services in our facilities. Graduates can't get jobs. Poor road infrastructure, deteriorating road infrastructure. Government going to borrow at high interest rates to meet the revenue gaps, leading to high cost of living. The Kenyan people is the one who suffers most. So you keep paying for these things. That Aurora and Kimwarer was a loan. It was a government guaranteed loan from some bank in Italy. The Kenyan people are paying for it until today. So ultimately, when these two institutions are disagreeing and fighting, the ultimate sufferer is the Kenyan people. That we keep being fleeced, our constitution gets undermined, and we pay it. Some even actually pay for it in their lives. Because people die. The consequence of corruption is actually a threat to life. People actually die. Because if there is no function in the health sector, it leads to death. When the cancer machines at Kenyatta is not working, that is death. You've condemned people to early deaths. That is the consequence of corruption. When graduates are not able to get jobs that are commensurate with their qualifications, some of them fall into depression. That is death. Those are the consequences of corruption that Kenyans need to start internalizing. That there is a direct correlation between this and this. That is why the quality of life in this country is now deteriorating. People are more depressed than they ever been before in the history of the nation. Okay. Why? Because of those things. So institutions that are bestowed the responsibility to superintend over the Constitution have a higher obligation, a higher duty to ensure that they act in fidelity to the Constitution and the law.
Okay. Yes. Now here we are, actually looking at this and making our viewers understand what is taking place here. Money is already lost in these kind of graph cases that we're witnessing here. It is the sole responsibility of the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions to make sure that these cases are prosecuted and actually listened to and litigated to their logical conclusions therein. But then here comes a case where the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions wants to withdraw Then the judge therefore refuses. Of course, just like the judge of the High Court decided to decline that request from the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions. The judge himself relies on the evidence adduced by the prosecution to actually listen to these cases and reach some sort of a determination. So in such kind of a scenario, what actually happens? Because here we are, the money is already lost, and we find ourselves in this kind of situation. How then are these cases supposed to move up to a point where justice is served?
The onus is on the DPP to give us a satisfactory explanation why they are withdrawing.
Okay.
And if they are not going to give us a satisfactory explanation, let the case continue in court until the time. But of course, they may decide to undermine the case by failing to call or refusing to call witnesses, refusing to produce exhibits that can lead to a conviction. So they can try to resort to other ways. But at least on record, the judiciary, and that judge in particular, has gone on record that I'm not a conveyor belt, that you are going to use my J courts to clean or to launder illegally gotten public wealth. Yeah, he's refused. Give me a satisfactory explanation why this case should be withdrawn. Otherwise, we are not going to use my court system. Because as I said, depending on the state of the prosecution, those kind of withdrawals actually leads to an acquittal that even no one can ever be, that person can never be charged again in future at all. It's almost like an immunity in respect to that particular set of facts, depending on the stage that the case has reached. So it's important, when before you withdraw such kind of a case, you must pay particular attention. It must be clear, and you must be telling us we are withdrawing against A because we found overwhelming evidence against B. A was charged wrongly because of A, B, C, D. Then there's an explanation, and we are all able to follow. So it makes sense. But if you went to court saying this is overwhelming evidence against A, then tomorrow you appear in court and say actually you wish to withdraw. No explanation. What happened to the evidence? Then who is responsible? No explanation, nothing. Why do you want the court to continue? So at least tell us how you are wrong, or you got it wrong here. It was actually leading to B, and B is already being arraigned in court to answer. And you tell us how A is being exonerated. That's not happening.
But as things stand, what do we stare at? Do we stare at the imminent collapse of these cases?
Of course, they are going to collapse. The DPP was shown openly that he's not willing to prosecute them. And he's the one who leads evidence in the prosecution of such kind of cases. So, of course, they are going to collapse. That is not in doubt.
What then is the role of the EACC in this?
The EACC, the most they can do is also just maybe prefer an appeal or try to do asset recovery. Yes.
Okay.
Because even them, once they investigate, they send the files to DPP to prosecute. And DPP was shown he's not willing to prosecute.
And here we are. So Kenyans would be asking, why would you then borrow money from outside there for different projects? Because, of course, the government has always defended itself on borrowing for development and all that stuff. And then this money is actually looted, or rather stolen. Of course, I used to hear Prof talk of this is not even corruption, this is theft. That is what he used to say. So all these things comes in, and then the taxpayer actually has to carry the burden of all these things. When such kind of cases are prosecuted, then we cannot actually realize their logical conclusion, and justice is actually aborted midway. So where do we stand? What do we stare at as a country?
That is why I said the date with destiny. Yeah. Because Kenyans are taking stock. People are taking recording of what is going on. In Kenya Kwanza, we love the day with destiny, with the people of Kenya. That day of reckoning will come. It will come on the ballot. It may come in public rallies. As you can already see, some of them are receiving backlash in their backyards. But obviously, without a doubt, the people of Kenya are now the wiser. And they're clear. This is not the kind of leadership that they deserve. It doesn't represent their aspirations as captured in their constitution. Yes.
Thank you so much, Wakili, for making time for us. Ladies and gentlemen, you can actually weigh in on this conversation and tell us what your thoughts are on the recent withdrawal of high-profile cases that we're actually witnessing. We thought that this is something that has been there in the past and do not actually recur right now. But as things are right now, things are actually changing, and the trend is continuing with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. We wonder what then do we have as a chance here as a country, because surely and sincerely speaking, public money has been lost, something that we cannot recover. And even those who are responsible for such kind of theft haven't been brought to book. What do we stare as a nation? What's your view on this? Kindly talk to us and tell us. You can comment down there. And of course, we'll be more than glad to go through the comment section and interact with you there. And kindly, if at all you're watching us for the first time, do subscribe to our channel here. And of course, follow me on X at EvansOkinyi8, on TikTok as well, Facebook, and all across all social media platforms, so that we can actually interact, engage, and have a candid conversation on what is taking place in this country and across our borders. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop at this particular moment till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.